Batman Arkham Asylum is one of the most influential games ever made. It is a game that marked the beginning of one of my favorite depictions of the Caped Crusader ever. That being said, I'm still gonna tell you everything about this game as it is, so if you were expecting me to be biased because of nostalgia or because of my love for this character, then I just want to say that
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody!
damn, it's been so long since I've done that. First up, visually the game still looks good. The textures are sharp, the lighting is nice. The character models though do look a bit dated, but it's not a deal breaker. What's really special about this game's visuals is its art style, architecture, and just the overall love shown to the comic books. These elements are the reason why Batman Arkham Asylum has aged so much better in terms of visuals than other games from its generation. I personally believe that out of all the Arkham games, Arkham Asylum has the most standout setting, not in terms of raw graphical fidelity because that's obviously gonna be Arkham Knight, but in terms of visual aesthetic. It is the most distinct looking game in the series as it goes all in with the comic booky gothic architecture while still making it feel real. There's horror movie like medical facilities, the symbolism with the moon taking up so much of the backdrop, like the atmosphere just oozes out of this game, man. This shit is so goth that halfway through the game I was expecting everyone to cut themselves. This love for comics even bleeds into the UI of the game. The music adds to the overall immersion as well with a sort of eerie feeling to it. Every building, every area in Arkham Asylum, from the claustrophobic interiors to the exteriors, was crafted with a vision and it really shows, bro. And as the game's story moves forward, the map changes as well to make sure it doesn't feel samey, which is great because I don't think that this game can be called open world by any means, but it makes the best use of the map size that it does have. The bottom line is, Arkham Asylum is a very memorable setting and one of the best parts of this game. It is a distinct video game location that has been ingrained in my memory ever since I was a child. But how do you move around this place full of freaks? From just the beginning of the game, you can parkour over stuff while you're on the ground. Peter Parkour? Nah bruh, I prefer Bruce Walt.
But don't lie to me, Walt. You sussy baka.
You have your grappling hook, which obviously lets you grapple up to places. You can also glide as well, but it's kinda slow and you can't really get far with it. Still good to have the feature nonetheless, I guess. The game follows a kind of Metroidvania approach where as the story progresses, you discover more areas on the island and also gain resources and gadgets like the explosive gel and cryptographic sequencer and more to help you access areas that were previously inaccessible. Coupled with the map changing with respect to the story, the Metroidvania approach is handled really well in my opinion. Like, even though on a surface level it is kinda repetitive that you kinda go to the same places multiple times, but Arkham Asylum just does such a great job at never getting old or feeling boring. The design and architecture of Arkham contributes really well to the stealth. You have your basic takedowns which you can perform from sneaking behind enemies, ledge takedowns, and you can also unlock inverted takedowns which are just so cool, man.
Hey, get off me!
It is also really fun to set up traps with gadgets like explosive gel to catch the enemies by surprise. Hey, did I mention that Batman doesn't kill? Now I'm gonna be honest here and tell you right now that the stealth is not anything special and the AI is extremely basic and dumb at times. There are situations where more variables are introduced, but most of the times the entire difficulty of stealth comes from the fact that once these enemies do spot you, they pretty much have aimbot. Like, these are just a bunch of sick criminals, bro. How does everyone become Deadshot all of a sudden? There are some really well constructed and enjoyable stealth situations here, but as a whole, the stealth is just okay. The real fun of Batman Arkham Asylum lies in the head-on combat. This game's combat was so well received that practically every other melee focused game for the next decade copied it in one way or another. But what most people don't know is that this was also somewhat inspired by the PS2 Spider-Man 2 combat system. One button to attack, another one for a counter. Hardly a sneaky bitch, but you know I eventually found her. Finish these fools as they lay down all on the ground. To damage the son of a bitch, you gotta be ready to vault around. The boy got a knife, he priority number one. He wanted to see a star, so I pressed the stun button. Yeah, the combat is simplistic, but it's just so much fun, man. Yeah, the enemy variety is just okay, but the game more than makes up for it with the amount of enemies you have to fight in this absolutely buttery smooth free flow combat, which this game pretty much pioneered, man. The purpose of combat is to keep the rhythm going, so it's really appreciated that the game doesn't drop any frames during the action. The animations are just immaculate. This motherfucker is a whole ballerina when fighting, bro. You can also use batarangs and the bat claw mid-combat as well. Another thing is that there is no spider sense thingy here, so it's actually a bit more challenging to keep your combo score in this game as compared to the games that came after in the series. Here you have to more actively look out for attacking enemies. The challenge mode of the game, which is really fun I might add, does have the spider sense thing though. There is an unprecedented sense of flow to the combat which you can continue longer the more you get better at the game. The hits feel impactful as fuck. It's like this man's fists are gunshots, bro, because they sure as hell sound like it. The slow motion also just adds more to the badass feeling. The upgrades here are actually meaningful, and you can purchase finishers which you can do when you reach a certain combo, which are just... Yep, he's crippled for life. Good job, Batman. Justice is served. I don't know what to tell you, man. Fucking up dudes in the melee combat is just unadulterated fun. Batman Arkham Asylum begins with me, literally Batman, transporting the Joker to the Arkham Asylum. Here you get to see familiar faces as you descend deeper into the facility. Of course, it turns out that it was Joker's plan all along to get caught and be brought to Arkham. He's planning something real big and needs to be stopped. The rest is up to you to find out, and I won't spoil anything major. The plot on its own is not super special, but Rocksteady's understanding of the source material make this story one of the most authentic Batman experiences ever. Collectibles like interview tapes and Chronicles of Arkham do a good amount of world building. The game also explores the detective side of Batman, and here's another thing that this game normalized for other games in the future, and that is detective vision. You get to go up against villains like Bane, Killer Cock, and probably my... I literally just said Killer Cock. Yeah, that's what's his name now, Killer Cock. You get to go up against villains like Bane, Killer Cock, and probably my favorite of the bunch, Scarecrow. Scarecrow might be my favorite villain in this game, and I like him more here than I did in Arkham Knight. Everything involving him is just freaky and the highlights of the game. I don't want to spoil it for you, so you're just gonna have to see it for yourself. Now, the game does have some unique boss fights which are actually fun, but most of the times it's just this big monster thing recycled over and over again. This is my single biggest issue with this game. You fight these dudes so many times, with the only difference being how many you have to fight at once. This is basically just the Bane fight recycled over and over again, which is just lazy game design. Coming back, it really feels like the purpose of this game's story was to give the fans the characters they would like to see and actually do them justice. Justice is served. Batman Arkham Asylum is also helped tremendously by the fact that the characters are played by absolute veterans in their respective roles. You got Arlene Sorkin, the definitive Harley Quinn.
How do you like my new uniform? Pretty hot, huh?
Mark Hamill reprising his iconic take on the Joker.
Not so tight, boys. You'll crease the suit.
And the greatest Batman of all time, Kevin Conroy.
You have one chance to surrender, Quinn.
That being said, I do have two problems with the story. First, sometimes it feels like some plot points or inconvenience are just here to increase playtime and drag on for way longer than they should. And secondly, a lot of the times, Batman just feels very one-dimensional, which is such a shame. Like, I get the side villains being a bit one-dimensional, but it can't be excused for the literal main character of the story. I think this could have been improved upon by just giving Kevin Conroy more material to work with. But in conclusion, Batman Arkham Asylum is a game that changed the landscape of superhero games and gaming in general when it first launched. And even after almost 14 years, it still holds up as one of the most definitive Batman media ever created. It's the game that started the Arkham series and is still an absolute must-play experience for any fan of this character.
I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman!